And the milgram experiment was a very simple thing. It had a very simple diagram. You had a person hooked up to electrodes, okay? You had a person at a bank that would give shocks to the person with the electrodes, and you'd have a person overseeing the experiment. The person overseeing the experiment would tell the person, so Mr. E would tell Mr. T to shock Mr. L. So E, be the alleged professor or whoever was conducting this experiment, would tell person in station T to give this person shocks, and the buttons would go all the way up to 450 volts. The person at position L would pretend to be shocked. This actually was an actor. They knew that they couldn't legally actually shock somebody. So they'd have a wall between the two of them, and they'd have like an audio tape of someone screaming and begging for mercy. You know, they'd have an actor pretend to foam at the mouth and shake every time a light came on to pretend that they were doing this. The person in position T was the actual test subject. This is the person they were studying. Person in E put on an ad that they were testing on person L. They fooled person T into thinking that person L was the test subject. That was actually, they were researching the effects. Turns out they were really studying the sociological effects of telling people in position T to give that person lethal doses of electricity. And they got 65 to 67% of all people that sat at position T and were responsible for listening to the professor tell them to give a shock to the person in the room, and 65 to 67% of people did it, gave lethal doses.